So I start out by lunging him. This is something he already knows how to do, but definitely needed a refresher on. From the get-go, he kind of wanted to shoulder in, kind of throw his shoulder to you, kind of give you the whole F you, and really wanted to come in and invade your space. He's kind of what we call a space invader. So we pushed him out, got him sent around a little bit, moving his feet. What I did right there is I pulled him in, I asked him to stop. He's still a little bit crowdy, so I'm asking him to back off, get out of my space. You'll see I sit there and give him a minute to kind of think about what I just asked him. He kind of evaluates, so I go ahead and send him around in the other direction. What I do whenever I kind of twirl my rope like that, I'm asking him to move his shoulder out and away from me. And you see that he does. He's picked it up pretty quick. That's what we've definitely worked on the past couple of days. So we keep going ahead and sending him around. I'm going to ask him to stop just right there. You'll see I back him out of my space again. He's been a little bit sticky, so I'm going to kind of tap him on the chest a little bit to really get him out. So right here I'm asking him to move his shoulder over, meaning that if you're next to his shoulder, you need to be able to get him out of your space without having to hoot and holler and doing everything. So what we've kind of taught him is to move his shoulder over. It's the same concept as a side pass, except for asking him to do it at his shoulder. Now, is he doing it perfect? Absolutely not, but it's progress and it's better than him coming into you, so he's actually moving away. Now you'll see he kind of lost attention right there, kind of jerked his head away. So again, I regained his attention by moving him back at me, making sure his eyes were on me, and then again moving his feet around in the circle. Now more typically I wouldn't be so strong to kind of pull on them, except for he is very heavy in your hands. He wants to just go where he wants to go. So you'll see I put a little oomph into it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to gain his attention at all. He's a little bit ADD, just kind of paying attention to everything else, and not so much that he doesn't care. He's preoccupied with his mind. So you see me kind of moving his shoulder over, moving his shoulder, asking him to move. So immediately what we do whenever we stop and ask him to change directions, I'm not giving him a pause, I'm not doing anything like that. The reason I'm doing that is because I want him to pay attention to me and focus and really switch directions by using his hindquarters. I don't want him to lag, I don't want him to get sticky, I don't want to have to push him over. So you see as soon as we stop, I turn him around and we move on to the next direction. So you see right here, it's a little bit better. I'm asking him to move that shoulder over. I want a little bit more out of him this time. So again, I'm asking him to move it the opposite way. Anytime you do one thing, you want to do it the other way. That way you're getting an even direction on both sides. So again, is it perfect? No, I don't expect it to be. He's only had a couple days worth of doing this. It seems like somebody has tried to ask him to do it before. I don't know for sure about the shoulder. I know they've asked him to move his hindquarters in and out because he will do that for you, although he was very sticky at first. So you'll notice I go ahead and I jump up onto him. He's pretty simple. He's not moving off the leg anymore. If he does try to move out from underneath you, I want you to take that outside leg and move him back over. In this case, he didn't do it. We didn't have to correct him, so it seems like something that has been a habit that we kind of took care of. Now, as soon as I get on him, I am asking him to flex out. One of the big reasons I'm asking him to do that is because he's very stiff. He wants to move very flat. So for him, since he wants to be very forward in your hands, you need to make sure that he's extremely supple, and by flexing him out is the very first step to that. So you'll see as I move him off, I'm really asking him to put his head down. It's something he knows how to do. It was something that he was very rusty with at first. However, he's kind of come into himself a little bit. You can see I constantly have to ask him, head down, head down. You can see I'm doing that whenever I move my hands just a little bit. You'll see me squeeze with my fingers, and then you'll see him drop his head just a hair. Whenever he drops his head, look at how he slows down in his gait just a little bit. He's going to be fast paced, fast paced. As soon as I give him a half halt and ask him to drop that head a little bit, he slows down. And that's the ideal goal. Even though we're not at a trot or at a lope, we're working at all this at a walk so that it can be effective at the trot and the lope. You're not going to get anywhere by doing this at the trot and the lope if you can't do it at a walk. So it's all working at the slower pace before you work at a faster pace. We want to make things perfect as slow as we can before we go faster so that it's more effective. So again, he speeds up just a little bit. You see me kind of half halt with my hands a little bit. He's the kind of horse who wants to be extremely forward, and it's just a natural thing for him. It's not something that's reprimandable. So you just kind of need to work with it and really remind him with each bump of your hands, he needs to slow down a little bit. So you can see he's slowed his pace just a little as I've bumped him and bumped him. As I'm asking him to move around, I do ask with a neck rein. I'm also using a lot of leg. So whenever I use my leg, I take that outside leg as we're going around an arc, and I'm really pushing his shoulder over into the direction that we're going. Again, more half halts. You can see me asking for him to bring his head down just a little bit. And what it does is it slows his pace down. You can see he's kind of riding into the bit rather than just being sprawled out. So right here, I'm asking him to flex around. You notice that he hesitated a little bit. He was very stiff. He didn't really want to move around, but he did. You can see right here, instead of standing still and flexing his head around, he took a couple steps. That's one of those things you really need to just flex, 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 flex. If he walks around, fine. Let him walk around until he stops. The moment he stops and he's flexed around and relaxed, you release. What this does is it creates your more supple horse who's going to be able to drop his head, who's going to be able to ride into the bit rather than through it. So again, we ask for more flex. One thing I cannot stress enough is how much flex you can put into a horse. You can have the most supple horse in the world, and the reason they're so supple is probably because they've flexed the living crap out of this horse. You want them to flex so much that they are like butter in your hands. Now this horse right now is more like grits in your hands. He's not buttery at all. He is lumpy and he is jarring, and what we want to do is create a very supple horse who's nice and velvety and smooth each time you ask with your fingers rather than this pushing forward through your hands. So right here, I'm about to ask him to side pass. It's not something he is very good at. It's not something he understands fully, but what we're trying to do is get him to move off the leg and move off the rein. It's another thing that helps with him being supple. You see right now he's bracing against me, bracing against me, bracing against me. So I slide my leg back a little bit because he's moved his shoulders over and his butt is lagging behind. Now that tail swishing, he's not happy because I'm asking him to do something he doesn't want to do. Again, I'm asking him to move over, and as soon as he does, I release and I pat him on the neck. Now we're going to ask for the other direction. And again, it's a little sloppy, and that's okay, but he is giving it some try. He's understanding it a little bit more, that each time I put my leg on him and move my rein over, I would like him to move sideways. Is it clean? No, it's not perfect, but that's okay. An effort is better than nothing. Now again, this is something he likely knew in the past, but has gotten very rusty on. Reason being, normally kids don't understand how to do this or what they're asking for, so it's something he probably hasn't been asked of in a long time, since, within the past 10 days, all of a sudden we're asking it of him, and it's kind of a bigger deal than it has been in the past. So again, you saw me half halt just a little bit, and look at how slow his pace has gotten. He's kind of walking into my hands. He's really respecting the bit and not trying to ride right through it. And you'll see probably after this he'll pick up pace a little bit, but then again we half halt him and get him to slow down. So right here I'm trying to ask him to flex, but you can see he hesitates and hesitates and hesitates. Finally he brings his head around. And what we're trying to do is create to where anytime we ask, there is no hesitation. That's why I stress focusing on flexing him out so much so that he becomes very soft in your hands. There should be no hesitation. A hesitation is just like a horse pulling through your hands. So right here, we just want to make sure our horses aren't spooky, they're not jumping around, they're not doing anything silly. We jump on, we jump off, and make sure that this horse is not going to walk out from underneath you. Make sure he's not going to jump off to the side. Make sure he's not going to step away from you like he has been. So it's something we do in the beginning and the end, and we just make sure we got it all taken care of.